Hey, I'm Will Comer, and my story map is titled "The Stewards of Fire: How We Can Make Our Forest More Resilient." It talks about the history and the problems of wildfire in Flagstaff and what we can learn from ancestral indigenous stewardship to create more resilient forest. So, Northern Arizona is home to a variety of ecoregions, with the most prominent being the Ponderosa Pine Forest. Arizona has the largest Ponderosa Pine Forest in the world, stretching from the New Mexico border all the way to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. And ponderosa pine forests exist around 6,000 to 8,000 feet and are usually accompanied by grassy meadows, shrubs, and seasonal flowers. This ecoregion is historically adapted to low-intensity wildfires that keep the forest healthy and open, clearing underbrush, recycling nutrients, and creating a diverse understory. And these forests are home to a variety of wildlife. Similarly, the forests are sacred to and the ancestral homeland of at least 14 tribes and tribal nations who have long relied on and supported the forest for millennia. And then this is a map of the Ponderosa Pine Forest in Arizona and New Mexico. And so the forest of northern Arizona and Flagstaff have changed greatly over time and have shown different levels of health. Here's what a healthy ponderosa pine forest looks like and what it's supposed to look like. It's characterized by tall, widely spaced trees with open canopies that allowed for sunlight to reach the forest floor, with a rich understory. An unhealthy ponderosa pine forest is characterized by densely packed trees, low light reaching the forest floor, and a very non-diverse understory of plants. And then the historic fire regimes of this area were frequent low-intensity surface fires that occurred every 2 to 10 years that cleared underbrush, overgrowth, smaller vegetation, which allowed for greater biodiversity and soil health. And then now modern fire regime associated with the dense forests that we see today, destroyed large swaths of forest and destroy entire forest rather than just clearing the understory of the forest. And so, as you can see, our forests were once vastly different from what they are today, but they've always been influenced by human throughout history. Prior to colonization, indigenous communities were cultivating and managing wilderness to support the wildlife and the plants that we relied on. And this video details how they did that. And so, what did this change look like over time? As colonists expanded westward, they were drawn to the vast swaths of ponderosa pine forests, and a logging industry exploded, and hundreds of thousands of acres of forests were logged. And so, how has wildfire affect is affected in modern day? Here's what the forest looks like pre-wildfire and then post-wildfire. And so wildfire can change the natural systems of the forest. It can destroy and kill all the trees, which decreases the water erosion, water absorption, as well as create hydrophobic soil and create deep channels for water runoff, which can increase flooding greatly and just kill the biodiversity in the forest overall. And flooding is a serious issue because flooding can destroy communities due to the burn scars, and during monsoon seasons and big rain events in Flagstaff, this flooding can occur and cause major destruction to infrastructure and affect communities and even destroy entire neighborhoods. This video shows a car being swept away by floodwaters in a neighborhood that is close to a wildfire scar. And then, so where have these major wildfires occurred and how is it related to aspects of the community? Here's what the red shows historic wildfire boundaries. The green shows wilderness areas. The red dots show important areas to the community that Flagstaff residents chose, and that's how they're all related to each other. And then these locations provide residents with cultural, historical, and natural significance, and some are also considered sacred to indigenous communities, each holding unique meaning and reason for their importance. Here are the San Francisco Peaks, Sunset Crater, Schultz Pass, Mars Hill. These are all examples of places that are very important to the community and also very vulnerable to wildfire. So we must protect these areas and become environmental stewards. So how can we become stewards of the land? We must continue to adopt ancestral indigenous land practices such as prescribed fire, as well as use Western techniques like mechanical forest thinning. Prescribed fire is intentional burning of forest, and thinning is removing of overly dense trees. And then this photo shows how this affects no treatment. It completely gets burned. Thinning only, it's still very destroyed. And then thinning was prescribed. It's very healthy. So if we adopt these practices and continue to adopt these practices, we can protect the places that are important to our community and ensure their long-term survival into the future. And then community outreach and education is imperative to protecting our forest. According to the National Park Service, nearly 85% of wildfires are caused by humans, from illegal campfires, discarded cigarettes, other things. So if we outreach to the community and help them understand the risk and consequences associated with illegal fires or and such, we can help reduce wildfire and really help to limit wildfire and the destruction and protect all of these important areas that are important to the community. And as people care for the protection of the land, we get closer to becoming a culture of land stewards. And I just want to end with Aldo Leopold quote. We abuse the land because we see it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a commodity to which we belong, we begin to use it with love and respect.